Bad day, Java. Over the last 24 hours, 3 distinct things have happened that I've had to look up. One of them is actually not a bad thing. It's just that it's related to what people keep memeing on the net. But we'll discuss things in the order they happen. At a coffee shop yesterday, I dealt with censorship and the internet being controlled by some evil overlord dictatorship. No, it's not the UN. Here we go. Now remember, these are things I'm going to be discussing that you should know about that we shouldn't have to deal with. A company called Airtight Networks morphed into or associated with Mojo Networks, which started marketing something buzzwordish called cloudwifi, cloud-based Wi-Fi authentication, sold this idea, bill of goods, and subcontracted with Comcast as a business-to-business option that they would offer their customers. Sometimes you're better off being considered a business, sometimes you're better off considered being an individual. It really depends on which thing makes things better for you. In this case, Comcast offering anything that says business to business means you will have crappier service, less functionality, and they'll still charge you more if they can get away with it. Anyway, there's this click-through validation that's done when you first go on to the internet in many locations, including the one I'm at now. All it does is authenticate your computer in some way. It looks up its current IP address, hardware information, MAC address, something to identify it by, so that it can keep hundreds of people from having data collisions on the network. Otherwise, it has to set up a system where your computer absorbs some key, and then it uses that special key for deliberately encrypting data back and forth, so that you can't have a collision of data and also can't have a privacy violation. It's a pretty simple thing and has been figured out already, especially if you've enabled security on your connection, which is what was already done on that connection. But oh no, that's not good enough. We can't just do the thing that worked a day before. No. We have to enhance security. We're here to help you. Remember that. So anyway, here's what happened. When you look it up on Google and on YouTube, because they stupidly put up a social networking page for you to be able to find them, it says, seamless Wi-Fi connectivity for everyone everywhere. And of course it failed. Here's some clues to that. Gives businesses the ability to design, deploy, and manage Wi-Fi services, all from a web-based app. Plain English, if the thing stops working, you can't reach the part that lets you fix it because it's a web-based thing. It's supposed to be built into the router or the Wi-Fi box. Most people know about that. So when this broke, I went through and did the simple thing. I tried to contact the Wi-Fi router I'm connected to because it took the password and login, or the password, to gain access to the Wi-Fi. That's how Wi-Fi is supposed to work. And instead of getting its page, which is at an IP address it uses that's 192.168.0.0 or 01 or whatever, it tried to redirect to a web page called cloudwifi because Comcast reprogrammed it to redirect everybody away from the internal page, which would at least tell me the thing was working, and keep trying to load up a page I didn't want to load, which looks exactly like domain name service poisoning or a virus. The first thing anybody's going to think of is, I got to check for viruses here. This will be a theme. When your solution to problems causes them and makes it look like a virus attack, you've made a mistake. I'll get to the next part that's funnier. But anyway, let's read some more of their advertisement spree for a few minutes. This includes not only setting up both private and guest Wi-Fi networks on the same piece of equipment, so they could technically break into each other. Really smart. Just get another Wi-Fi router box. But also controlling bandwidth allocations. You mean strangling our connection so it's even crappier than it already is with 80 people being on. Yes, if 80 people are on, they should all get 1/80th of the bandwidth. But some are more equal than others, so you restrict them to somehow more than 1/80th, which just makes it crash more, or less than 1/80th, which doesn't make any sense. Next, setting content filters. Censorship. Defining rules of guest access with options like time limits and black screens. Yes, instead of blue screening, it blacks them out without any explanation. And because this is such an obvious security hole from hell, anyway, I'll get to that in a second like I'm promising. And it includes a splash page you can use on the first page they see, which can shove ads in their face. And then you can do it through the cloud so that other people have control over what advertisements they see. Which means that it can install viruses from the page before you've even gotten access to the internet. So then your virus scanner can't download virus definitions. And it can be updated and swapped out at will or automatically. Anything automatic will fail automatically. Next, guess what this did for security reasons? Because it found so many people trying to get to the page with the error message that it provided, it locked out the ability to load up the error page, which means it locked out the ability to go to the website to reconfigure it to stop showing the stupid error message. Because it assumed it was under attack because hundreds of people, for some amazing reason, couldn't get access to the thing because of a simple screw-up that wouldn't have happened if they had not done that and changed the Wi-Fi. And, if you look up Mojo Networks, Airtight Networks, CloudWifi, or Comcast, you'll find a very tiny number of pages up. If I do a video on this, will my page be removed? Other people have complained that their pages have been scrapped immediately because bad press about a really crappy product that's supposed to be sold business to business. You don't lose anything by pissing off customers. You don't want to piss off the businesses. If a business looks this up and sees this video or the other one I'm going to obviously make when I figured out how to solve this, they'll think twice before implementing this. On the other end of it, Google Network, Google high-speed hookup that's at this coffee shop just has a click-through, and if it screws up, it defaults to let the person through. It doesn't have to show you a disclaimer every damn time. It should default to making the connection work, not failing it and not letting you get into the control panel to fix it. This is literally dumb. Okay, just wanted to spout some crap about that. Next thing, today's error message. I'm going to do probably a separate video on this, I don't know. Page fault in non-paged area. Some of you may have seen that. I'm just going to explain it. A page fault is when a memory area that's a temporary section, in this case it's a memory page, paging Dr. RAM, has an error in it. It can be caused by bad memory or it's managing the memory wrong. And this is a Windows system, so we already know where that goes usually, but we can't tell because it doesn't know the difference because it's Windows. Page fault in non-paged area. In the non-paged area, a paged area, in this sense, means most likely, again, I can't figure it out exactly, a temporary area to store junk, and a non-paged area being the area that's not supposed to be junk data, it's supposed to actually contain the program. Anyway, the program that broke is an Adobe Type Font Manager from Service Pack Nothing for Windows 7. Caused a blue screen out of nowhere because some website somewhere tried to load up a font in my web browser. That's more likely than you think. It loaded the Adobe Type Font driver to put up fonts on the screen. This is something that should never be able to crash the computer. If it doesn't load, it should just fail to print the letters and numbers on the screen. Oh, no, no, no. It has to have a panic attack and crash the entire computer and leave me wondering what the hell just happened. So I sat down, wrote down the error message, because of course it doesn't save the error message unless I'm willing to allocate literally half a gigabyte of space on my hard drive for error messages. So anyway, I looked up last action view or some other thing and found the error message again, and I was able to cut and paste it. Thank you. And found out that it was an old file for a True Type Manager that had the ability to crash the computer because it was defective from birth. The patch is below in the description, I'll include it. But basically, it's a DLL. Now I'm going to cover DLL hell really quickly because I had to look this up. There's a space on your hard drive called WinSxS. That stands for Windows Side-by-Side. It's used for two things. Copies of these files called DLLs that are literally collections of little pieces of programs that are jammed together and they're dynamically linked. What that means is that this program here can call in to chunk number 4 and run chunk number 4 in that DLL, or 5 or whatever. You can also have this be actually installed in the program, but by doing that, everybody can share these. That's a great idea, except that there's multiple versions of it. Or maybe somebody uses the same name for something totally unrelated. This is called DLL hell, because it's a very popular way of packaging programs, because you can just update that one file and fix a bunch of errors. Or you can just distribute it, like Visual Basic is a DLL. You can include it with programs or have it part of the operating system. But because you could put it in the same area, let's say Firefox is in, and also put it in the operating system and put it under a different browser, and it could be all of them that could be using different versions, this caused conflicts. Or one browser might try to use the other browser's DLL if they're both loaded. These became a real problem really quickly. So Microsoft came up with a solution that actually does work and works really well, and it even worked under these conditions because it actually helped in this case. It puts different copies under different names and simply lies to the program and says, oh no, they're the same file name as long as it's the right file number and type. It analyzes the program's behavior and puts a fake copy of the program over here. It appears to take up space, but it really doesn't. It's aligned to every program that comes across it, and then puts it carefully over here and then keeps a big, strong eye on it. Because they have, like this program, the ability to crash the computer. And if you have more versions, I added a new version that was better. It kept the old version in case I needed it. It's supposed to flush those, the old ones, and it doesn't sometimes. Because some program somewhere says, I want this file. And it's looking for the old version. So Windows says it's this version, but it substitutes the newer version. So it doesn't crash anymore. Sounds good. What if a virus does the same thing? So again, can't tell if virus or just Microsoft brilliance. So, to recap on this, a file that came with Windows in 2009 that was supposed to be updated because I'm supposed to install Service Pack 1, but I didn't because it really has no reason to be on my machine, but now I'm going to have to do it, I guess. Crashed my computer because it couldn't render the letter A on the screen or something simple like that, instead of just failing gracefully and not crashing, because it was written by Adobe. So anyway, the newer version I downloaded says it's copyrighted by them, but it was written by Microsoft, and it has also another feature. That crash capability was able to be exploited by viruses. And that's been around since 2009, and nobody made a big fuss because Microsoft included a patch for it, so did Adobe. So if you've installed any Adobe product, it looks for that and says, let me fix that. But it keeps the old, broken, virusable copy around, and you can't get rid of it unless you install Service Pack 1 for Windows 7 and then run the cleanup utility to remove all duplicates and superfluous copies. And if even one program wants the older version, you can't get rid of it. And this muck is just as bad as it was before. No real improvement, but it does have the ability to make it more stable. And by the way, as well as that, if you're thinking of clearing out the WinSxS folder, a lot of people are thinking of doing it, they talk about it, that's also where it keeps a backup copy of the entire Windows 7 DVD. Yeah, that's where all the files go, so it doesn't need the DVD as often. It also makes new versions by recompiling them for every other possibility just in case they're needed, so that it won't crash as often. I haven't had a crash on this machine in over a year, and it finally crashed because, again, of some stupid program that really isn't even needed. Now we go on to the next one. I'm going to be doing a video, yet another video, on sovereign citizen movement stuff. But this will be the preview. New States Clause, United States Constitution, Article 4, Section 3, Clause 1 allows you to have new states or chop up states to make new ones, but only if everybody agrees with it and Congress has to agree with it. Unless those conditions are met, it's not allowed. That's actually the law. Let's see if anybody contradicts this. This is partial Java for today, a bad install of Java with Waptek. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.